What is up, everybody? How we doing tonight? I'm doing pretty swell myself. Got nothing to complain about. But nobody's really asking about me, which you all are here for, of course, is the bowl season college football show. And I'm, of course, always joined by my main man here. Hit him with it.
I know he lost me there at the end, but
The
it was
effort
there.
is
The
what
effort's what
matters.
mattered.
That's
Yeah.
right.
See, here we go. Already starting this one off. Ow. Off strong today.
Well,
Interpersonal.
it couldn't get much better. We're 10 days away from the birth of the Savior. We're here 1 day away from the bowl games. We're talking college football every single bowl game. There will not be one that is missed on this list. How about that? And it rhymed. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the bowl games. Let's not waste time. You folks don't want to waste time. Me neither. I'd rather talk about these games. All right, let's start us off with the first bowl, the Myrtle Beach Bowl, a bowl that, you kind of look at earlier in the year. You thought maybe South Carolina would make this bowl, but no, they did not. We got Georgia Southern and Ohio, and both of these teams have been explosive in their own rights. They have a lot that works with them and a lot that they have improved on from this season to last season. Sorry for the noise in the background if y'all can hear that. Georgia Southern, obviously a power in the Sun Belt Conference, versus a MAC team that has been stellar all year, has been in the conversation for the MAC championship, just couldn't get that extra bit. But Chooch, you know how good these teams are. I swear we followed them like every week, it seems. So we're fairly familiar. Who gets this win to start off the bowl season?
I think this one's going to go to Georgia Southern. I think they're playing. Yes, Ohio's a good team in their conference, and they're a better team outside their conference than people give them credit for. But Georgia Southern has kind of gone through the gauntlet here. The Sun Belt was the gauntlet this year. I'm sorry. For non-Power 5 conferences, the Group of Five,
Oh, it's
that was the
ridiculous.
gauntlet of conferences. And it's going to be for a hot minute. It actually might be better than the ACC at one point or another. Um, so I think Georgia Southern is going to come in refocused, a few weeks off. The kids had finals. That's done, over with. They come back, ready to play football. Georgia Southern gets back to the Eagle Way and they do their thing.
Wow, I like that. Georgia Southern, they're a really good team. They spread you out. They hit you with that, spread style that they run to such a perfection. But I cannot count out Ohio. I know Rourke is not going to be there for this game. He's been a huge, part of this Ohio offense. But I think this team is ready to make a statement. And they're 9-3. Could you imagine a 10-win season on the mark for this team? I mean, that would be monumental if they could get it done. They're an underdog here, so be wary of that. But I think Ohio will find a way to win another game. Very close. All right, so this game is actually not on here because it got added relatively late, but I did say we're going to talk about all the bowls, so this is rather a quick one. It will not count towards our bowl records, so Chooch, kind of a for fun pick here.
All right.
Howard and Florida A&M. Florida A&M's 11-1. Howard 6-6. Who gets, or excuse me, 6-5? Chooch, I know you haven't watched much of either of these teams. Probably not a lot of other people have, but if you had to go based off of any reason, what are you going?
Florida A&M University, because that's who Ocho Cinco reps. So FAMU. FAMU,
Good,
baby.
good pick, good pick. Florida A&M, because they had that one time on college game day and Lee Corso put on the Rattler. I still remember that. So no other reason with Florida A&M. All right. That was just kind of a for fun pick. And like I said, will not be on the record. Now, as for the Jacksonville State and Louisiana Lafayette at the R+L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Nice to have a home game, almost a kind of glorified home game for the Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns. It was getting scary towards the end of the year. If they were going to make a bowl, they pulled it out, made it to the spot, and now the welcoming party is here in a form of a very good Jacksonville State team that has been really just shocking people. This is their first year of really any notoriety in a long time. And they came close to beating New Mexico State. They barely lost that one by 3. Their other loss that was very, very close was against South Carolina on the road, only lost by 10. But ever since then, they've really played hard. They've really played to their strengths, and they have been a nightmare for teams, especially teams who have been kind of struggling. And like many would say, Lafayette has been struggling. Jacksonville State, a 2.5 point favorite here. Who do you go with, Juge?
I'm going to take Jacksonville State for the, like you said, they've been the better team. And that game against South Carolina proved it. That 3-point loss to New Mexico State is also another case in point because New Mexico State's a very well coached team and they play a very tight knit brand of football. So everyone's everywhere. They know where everyone's going to be. You can see it. So I'm taking Jacksonville State here because I think they learn, and the offense isn't flashy, but it's not going to lull you to sleep. It's kind of like it keeps you like, what's going to happen here? So
Right on your toes.
yeah, Gamecocks.
All right. So
The other
this
one.
game, yeah, the other ones, the less known Gamecocks. So I've been going back and forth about this game for a little bit because I really like Louisiana Lafayette and I really like the fight that they show because honestly, it's not their skill that really gets me and tells me, hey, this is a good team. It's their heart, it's their fight that they have shown all year. And some games it was just one play that was the difference. Like, you look at the Troy game, you look at the Southern Miss game, um, they were right there and they just got it pulling from them. This could be an 8-4 team. So, sometimes you have those plays that go against you, but I can't pick against Jacksonville State. I just can't do it because I like this team, like you just saying. They're not, the best offensive wise, but they're not bad either. They're just kind of that medium tier, offense. You got to prepare. You got to look at them because they can run the football well. Their quarterback, he's an okay dual threat. He's not great, but he does enough to get a win. And then this defense is my favorite part of this team because every time they're on the field, they look good. They're quick to the ball, they're disciplined, and they make enough plays. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Lafayette's going to fight hard in this game. It's going to be close, but the Gamecocks get the job done. All right, next one here, and it's a big game. Now, if kind of a casual this year, you might going like, wait, Miami of Ohio is 11-2. Yeah, you read that right. It's not a typo. This team, they won their conference. They ended up clobbering Toledo in that conference title game. Clobbering. I know it was 23-14 on the score sheet, but anybody who watched that knows the true story. This team is good, and they're looking to get a 12-win season, which already their season's been impressive. But then you add that 12, and it's like, maybe we got something here. Maybe a top 25 team next year at the end of the year. And then as for App State, every season, I swear, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, they're a scary team. Doesn't matter how you prepare for them. They always play the top teams tough. They drop some games they shouldn't. And this year was no different. I mean, talent wise, they got, 3 and 4 stars. Never really get in the upper echelon guys, but they make it work and they use every player to their scheme. And they've done a tremendous job this whole year. As you can see, 8-5. Chooch, This would be a big win for both, but who gets the win?
I'm gonna go App State here. They've been coming up in games like this, and I mean, yeah, they lost to Troy, but they beat James Madison in overtime in James Madison. So that says something right there. I like App State's chances here with a little bit more time than to prepare.
Man, this was another game. I mean, most of these bowl games, like the committee did a really good job with a majority of these because they're really good games. Um, But I'm gonna go with Miami of Ohio here, just because I've picked against them enough. I have not picked with them one time on the show, and they always end up burning me, especially last week. I learned my lesson. They're not burning me again. They're gonna win, and I'm gonna be right for once. So please, Miami of Ohio. Now that I pick them, watch App State's gonna win by like 50. So that's how it works. All right, next game here, we got New Mexico State against Fresno State. And if you've been following these two teams, like we made mention before, New Mexico State, completely different looking from past years. Unfortunately, could not get the job done in the conference title game against Liberty. Liberty just doing enough to walk away with that one. And Fresno State, well, let's just say it was looking good, and then they hit a three-game skid with San Jose State in New Mexico and San Diego State. Things have been looking down for the Bulldogs as of recent, but don't let that fool you. They're still good. They're still a scary group, and they could come up and bite New Mexico State here. As for the odds makers, they go, no, we're not too concerned with Fresno. New Mexico State's a 3.5 point favorite. What do you say, though, Jude?
I'm going to join that 45.8%, and I'm going to take New Mexico State here. I just like how this team plays football. Um, they're very gritty and they're just in it. The guys are always have their heads in it, and they're aware, very aware. That shows with the Auburn win, honestly, and only the 14-point loss to Liberty. So, yeah, I'm going New Mexico State.
I like that. I like that pick. I love New Mexico State's coach. He's done a phenomenal job of turning this program from, how awful it was, um, to being how good it is now. And that just should speak volumes to a lot of people. But I gotta go with Fresno State. I love the way that this team operates. Like I said, I know they came off of three really just bad losses, and you kind of question where this team's mentality is. But I just think with their star quarterback, Mikey Keenan, he's going to be able to start kind of dicing up defenses and kind of go, hey, we got this under control. We're going to right the ship and we're going to get some momentum for next year. And again, no disrespect to New Mexico State. Love their coach, love what they've been able to do, but they're not winning this game. Give me them Bulldogs. All right, next one here. We got the UCLA Bruins, a team that has been rather vocal about the job Chip Kelly's done. They haven't been huge fans. They're saying, watch out, Chip, you're going to be fired at the end of this year. And not to mention Dante Moore, their star quarterback who has been playing all their games, just hit the transfer portal, said he is done with UCLA. So that's got to hurt this team's morale. Playing against a Boise State team who also lost their quarterback to the transfer portal as he went to Arkansas. So now you got two offenses in complete disarray. Two teams, well, one team that kind of flipped on their coach, the other team kind of unsure. They liked the direction recently, but there was a lot of talk, especially among the fan base early in the year. We hate this guy. We need a different guy in charge. But those people have grown quieter over the last 4 weeks. So, Chooch, this is really an interesting game. A lot of people still say UCLA should find a way. They're better physically, they have the better talent, but there is some people who say this is the time to strike for Boise State, and there are no strangers to getting upsets in the bowl week. I mean, you know that better than anybody.
Yeah. UCLA thing about firing Chip Kelly, first of all, is a joke. I've said this multiple times. Just don't do it. Yeah, he also just lost his first quarterback there that he was able to mold. So give him time with this kid. It's going to work. Now, Boise State. Yeah, cool. The quarterback's gone, but I believe in the interim turned permanent head coach, Spencer Danielson, to really get the freshman quarterback up to par. Because remember, they won the Mountain West Championship, their first one in 4 seasons. So I'm taking Boise State. I think they're going to be ready. I think CJ Tiller is going to be ready for UCLA. So go Broncos. Go.
Oh, hello?
Hello?
Okay, am I? You can hear me?
Yeah, you're up. You're up. I said
Okay,
go
cool.
Broncos.
I didn't
Sorry.
know because my thing started like almost glitching there for a minute, and I was like, "Am I still here? Am I gone? I don't know." So glad to hear I'm still here. I'm with you though. I think Boise State is gonna figure it out, and as much as I hate to say it, I mean, UCLA should not fire Chip Kelly, like you're saying. It's a joke, even if they lose this game, because he's got this program so far from the gutter it was. But sadly, somehow people don't remember that, I guess. So, yeah, give me Boise, though. This defense is going to be too good, especially for a new quarterback stepping in. So, go Bronx. All right, next one here. We got Cal and Texas Tech. And boy, has it been the season for both of these two teams. For Texas Tech, it was, hey, you just kind of did your normal thing. You had some flashes of greatness, you had some flashes of what are you doing? You had some flashes of beating some teams that you shouldn't, like Kansas game, UCF game. You pulled that one out with the skin of your teeth. And then you had the BYU moments to where it was like, how did you lose to a team who can't run the football? And then, of course, Texas was like, yeah, we're just going to kill you and keep moving on. So it's really been the up and down Red Raider ride. And then as for Cal, they've always played tough. They lost a bunch of big games. And then recently they just said, we're just going to fight. We're just going to go for it. Screw it. And they won 3 in a row leading up to this game. So, same record, kind of different stories in the season. But Chooch, who leaves with that much improved 7-6?
Texas Tech. Only for the sheer. Man, see, I jumped the gun there. I'm going to go Texas Tech because Taj Brooks. I think just he is that little bit more of a game changer for the Red Raiders. While I mean, yeah, Jaden Nott's going to be there. This could be a running back shootout, just run off, just let
Which
him
is
do his
weird.
thing. Yeah, really weird, but I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. I think these guys are going to give a much needed boost to the early bowls. So I'm going with the Red Raiders.
And expect this game to be close. Expect the defenses to play well, kind of show out, play to their ability. I think, this game is going to come down to who makes those extra plays, who does the smaller details better. And I just like Texas Tech's ability to do that because, when you've had the ride like they have, you've had your moments of down, you had your moments of up. It really builds your character. Not to say that Cal hasn't had that, but I think Texas Tech has better experience for a game like this than Cal does. And I ultimately think that's the difference here. Coaching is going to win out, and just a few more plays go Texas Tech's way. So, yeah, give me them Red Raiders. All right, next one here, Western Kentucky and Old Dominion. Chooch, we were sitting up here little bit worried that your Monarchs were not going to make it to the bowl season, but long and behold, they beat Georgia State by 1 point and they make a bowl game. Western Kentucky, kind of similar. I mean, they always have this like 7-5, season, maybe a little better, maybe a little worse, but they always find a way to get their offense ready for a bowl game. I mean, we've seen this in the past few years to where it seems like their offense shows up, their defense kind of struggles in these games, but they usually do just enough to get by the other team. Old Dominion, on the other hand, they're kind of the wild card. We don't know what to expect from them because it has been a while since they've been to bowl games consistently. So this is a big step for the Monarchs. Chooch, I know you're a little bit biased in this game, but is there a chance you rock with the Western Kentucky team and Austin Reed?
So I'm conflicted here because as I look at the schedule, I realize that Old Dominion has struggled against teams that have a quarterback that can throw
Right.
well. But it's not like they've been blown out except for when they played Liberty. I still think that was more just Liberty's overall talent prevailing in that one than anything. But I'm going to stay here and I'm going to say the Monarchs win this one because the defense has been the gateway for this team all year. And they've been setting up this offense to get stuff, to get it done. So I'm going Monarchs.
Good pick. I'm also going with the Monarchs here. I like a lot of with this team. Like it kind of like what I was saying about UL Lafayette earlier. Like they just have heart. It doesn't matter about the score. It doesn't matter about who goes out, who gets injured. XYZ. They're always gonna play you tough. And Western Kentucky's defense in bowl games is usually atrocious. So that definitely does not help when you're versing against this Old Dominion team who has a really good offense and a pretty good defense. So yeah, I think Old Dominion's just the all-around better school, and I think they get a very good win here over West Kentucky. All right, next one here we got the Roadrunners of UTSA, and what a come up for UTSA football over the last few years. It used to be you never heard this team talked about. They used to be awful. But out of the last few, they've had consistency. They've had good times. They've had, wins and even scares against some of the bigger teams. And this year was no different. 8-4. And sadly, losing against Tulane. They fought to their very end, but they just did not have enough to match up with Tulane. But every other game this year, at least 8 of them, because they got 8 wins, went really well. And if you look at their wins, they really only had two that were close, at least to memory, with North Texas and ECU. And then you flip the script and you go to Marshall, and they've been weird. They started off the season looking like a juggernaut, destroying teams, and then they just kind of forgot how to play football, and it was a descent for many, many weeks in a row. And then they got the win against Georgia Southern. They got absolutely shut out by South Alabama, and then it all came down to Arkansas State. Many, including myself, was like, "Yeah, they're over. They're gonna miss bowl season. They'll go 5-7." They pull out and they beat Arkansas State by 14. Resilience might be the key word with this Marshall team. Chooch, obviously, the Marshall quarterback has hit the portal, so that is going to be a little bit more to work against this Marshall team. But can they rally up one last time this season, being a 12-point underdog, and upset the Roadrunners? What do you say?
No, I think UTSA is going to come in and handle business like they usually do. This is a team that's prepared, and Marshall's defense scares me more than anything, not the offense. So I'm going with the Roadrunners.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you there. I think UTSA, they're just they're on a fun level right now. They're constantly rising, and they're looking for a ninth win. And honestly, and I know I said this, last time, and it kind of came back to bite me, but I'm doubling on this, and I'm going UTSA is going to beat them, and I don't really see this being much of a game. All right, next one here, South Florida and Syracuse. Or should I just say that team who played Alabama close and lost at home versus Syracuse? Because that seems to be all that people remember from the South Florida team this year. Um, but I'm going to add a little bit more to the South Florida team. Byron Brown, the starting quarterback, he's been pretty safe with the ball. 23 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, and he's thrown for over 3,000 yards. He's added quite the ability of this USF team to hang around, keep games close, and even pull some out there against teams who were close to their competition level. As for Syracuse, I mean, the story kind of speaks for a typical Syracuse led season. They had some great moments early in the year, and then they kind of hit that typical midpoint where they regressed. And, of course, that beating at Clemson or at home against Clemson, and then the beating against North Carolina, got beat tremendously by Va Tech. And then it kind of was looking like all was lost, but then they pull out the win against Pittsburgh, and when it mattered most, they shut up the Demon Deacons, pulled it out at home in the Carrier Dome to get to this spot. Chooch, which side are you leaning? Syracuse is a 3-point favorite.
I'm going to take Syracuse here. I just the more balanced attack, and I think the defense is better than UC than not USF's. Wow, that's weird.
I know, right?
My body wants to go UCF. No, it's USF. But yeah, that's orange, and because New York team, so go orange.
Oh man, this is another one. I'd love to see USF get this win, but like you were saying, I think Syracuse is just too well balanced in the run and the pass game. Schroeder's done a pretty good job, and really paid his dues. I mean, he had a lot of people questioning him, wanting him out of the starting position towards the mid part of the season, but he's been able to stick in and again, pull it out to get to this moment. And I also think Syracuse's defense will handle USF's offensive attack. USF has not seen a team like Syracuse, minus Alabama, of course. That's like the only other team on their schedule that was better than Syracuse. So Syracuse wins this one, and I don't see it being much of a contest. All right, so I don't know why ESPN did this to us because ESPN's the one we went off of. Usually we don't go down the line for these shows, but this was the one that we did. Georgia Tech and UCF. We had USF, now we have UCF. Thanks, ESPN. Thumbs up. We love you. So, 6-6 for both of these teams, and even though the record's the same, these two teams could not be that much more different. See, Georgia Tech's story, they've been an underdog, and they've pulled out some of these wins or given teams scares. They played Georgia really close, only lost by 8 at home. And that was, of course, their last game. And then UCF, it's been kind of the opposite. They've been favored to win some games, and then they blew those games. They've been, put in the ground and said, you're going to get stomped, like the Oklahoma game, for example, gave Oklahoma a scare. Um, it's really this has got to be the freakiest bowl game by far, Chooch. I don't know how you're gonna decipher this one or give your logic, but I'm here to see how you do that. UCF's a 4.5 point favorite. What do you have to say about it?
Well, So UCF showed up when they've needed to for a majority of the season, like that Oklahoma State game.
Oh, they killed him.
Oh man, talk about being mad in a restaurant. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech, I mean, they put up 23 against Georgia. So I don't know. I'm gonna go Yellow Jackets here. I have better faith in the team and the product that's been consistent all year, unlike UCF where they've been here and then they've kind of gone AFK. And so I'm taking the Yellow Jackets here.
Oh, oh man, I really like Gus Malzone, and I know he's usually pretty good in bowl games, but like this is the other part too. Like whenever Georgia Tech is doubted, for some reason they rise to the occasion and barely lose, or they pull off an upset. There usually isn't, aside from the Clemson game, another exception to that. So I think we're going to see that again. Georgia Tech rising up. It's going to be a fight till the end, but Georgia Tech wins this one by 3. All right, next we got Troy and Duke. Duke, of course, losing Riley Leonard to the transfer portal. He said goodbye, going to Notre Dame. And Troy, on the other hand, nothing that I've really heard of with the portal, but what I have heard of with these guys is 11-2. And whenever I've thought bad about this team, they've come up and they've destroyed. Every time I praise this team, they lost. So, which type of Troy are we getting today? But I don't know. They seem to have figured it out. They seem ready for a challenge like this. But my question is obviously Duke losing Mike Elko hurts, losing Riley Leonard hurts. What type of Duke team are we going to see take the field in this game? Is it going to be the, hey, we're still Duke. We still fought hard this year. We still shocked teams. We, upset Clemson week 1. We can do it again here. Or is it just going to be like, whatever, Troy can have this one. We're just going to show up because we have to. You know what I'm saying, Chooch? Like, which side do you think comes out here and plays this Troy team?
I don't know which Duke team's going to come out. Probably some patched together product of what we've had this year at some points. But with that being said, I'm going Troy. I think they're a better team. The offense is just better. The defense can hang with these guys, and I just think the running game. I think Vidal just kills it for these guys. That runs through Duke Swiss cheese front 7. So Troy.
All right. I'm gonna go with you here. I'm gonna say Troy wins this game. And I just think Troy is way too balanced. I could see like 28-0 early in this game, and like all 28 of those points are gonna be from passing touchdowns. And then Troy just goes, all right, we're gonna go foot on neck here, run the football, absolutely physically dominate you, and get our 12 win rather easily. So sorry, Duke, but I just don't think you have anything left. Next one here, we got Arkansas State and Northern Illinois. Yeah, I didn't think I'd see these two teams here either. So, Northern Illinois story, they needed that last win against Kent State. Things were looking iffy for a little bit against the Golden Flashers, but they were able to pull it together and get a win. And Arkansas State, when they needed to clinch, they dropped 77 points on Texas State, and then the next week losing by 14 points to Marshall and allowing them to get bowl eligible. This game is a big step for both teams in what's it gonna be like next year. So Chooch, who gets that added momentum heading into next year? Will it be the Red Wolves or the Huskies?
Oh, see, yeah. I think the Huskies, they always show up for games like this when they don't matter. They're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna play football today, like Kent State. So I'm going with the Huskies here. Arkansas State's been hit or miss at times with the offense during games, so I think NIU's ability to pound the ball better is going to win this one out.
So, I was, earlier on in the week, I thought like, hey, or well, not even in the week, just, before this heading into the Kent State game, like, hey, whoever they play in a bowl game, I'm probably gonna pick them because, they'll probably manhandle Kent State. Then I got to see the score, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm taking the other team. So yeah, I'm gonna go Arkansas State here just because I don't think NIU's defense is good enough to hang with this Arkansas State attack. Sorry, NIU. I do like you, just not in this game. And now we need a miniature celebration. The committee got it right. James Madison is bowling, everybody. Finally, they get some respect. And they take on, speaking of respect, the Air Force Academy, a team who's been pretty good in their own right, holding their own in the Mountain West, and really a marquee game. If you watch college basketball, you'll understand this. How they do conference versus conference games that matter. This is that. Sun Belt top tier, Mountain West top tier. Huge. I usually, break down games more than this, but for this, there's no need because these two teams are that good. JMU's a 3-point favorite. I know you've been rocking with them all year, but don't count Air Force out in this one. Who do you got?
Air Force is a very good team, but I don't know how that offense is going to be able to handle this athletic defense. Yes, there's no McLeod and there's a new head coach, but that new head coach had Holy Cross ranked in the FCS. Oh, the FCS. Well, this JMU team was there 2 years ago, so shut your mouths, fools. The offense is still going to be incredible. Surratt is insane. So the Dukes handle this one. This is going to be a walk in the park from. I mean, I think Air Force keeps it close for a half, but after that, it's all Dukes.
Oh man. um I think Air Force is going to give James Madison fits with their style of offense. I mean, obviously, it's not the true triple option that we've seen in past years with Air Force. They're finally evolving out, but I really like their offense. I think they're going to give JMU problems for a good part of this game, but ultimately. JMU makes the adjustments with their new man in charge, like you said, new coach from Holy Cross, who has been really good, and I'm glad he's got this opportunity at JMU. And I think he starts off his coaching career 1-0 against Air Force. Give me them Dukes. All right, next one here, Georgia State and Utah State. If you've been following this year, you're like, why is this a game? I mean, Georgia State, they looked incredible at one point in the season. They were unbeaten for a little bit in the season. What happened? Then you see the 6-6 and you're like, wait a minute, what happened? um and honestly, it's an answer that I'm not too sure of. They just kind of fell off a cliff. As for Utah State, it's been a teeter-totter of emotions. They started off really bad. They hit their mid-season point, and it was looking up for them. And then out of their last 5 games, they had 2 losses and 3 wins. And their last win, a 2 overtime win against New Mexico State to get to this bowl season. Huge. I know Georgia State's been terrible as of late, and Utah State looks to be a little bit more well put together, but also the conference difference usually plays a factor in these type of games. But Utah State does have a tendency to come up and play their best ball in these bowl games. So, kind of a lot to unpack here, but what do you say about it?
So a part of me really wants to agree with you there when Utah State can and usually does show up in these games, but I got a feeling that Georgia State, just with the preparation and a refocus, is able to come back out and end the season on a high note. So I'm going with Georgia State.
Man, we've been agreeing a lot, and we're going to keep agreeing here. I like Georgia State too. I know they lost their running back to the portal, but this team, and the thing that you find out, especially watching more Sunbelt, is that these players, yeah, they're good and all, but there's like 10 other guys who can step up and make plays. And I think that's what happens here. Another guy gets another shot and makes a name for himself in this game. I expect this run game to have quite the field day on this defense. 275 yards at least. So yeah, give me Georgia State to run away with this game. Next one here, we got South Alabama and Eastern Michigan. South Alabama, they've been playing really top tier football for a little bit of this season. They shut out Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State. And then you fast forward, they shut out Marshall at home 28 nothing. Now, why do you have such a fast forward, you might say? Well, there are some spots we kind of missed out on, like losing to Troy, and some would say getting manhandled by Troy, losing to UL Lafayette by 13, and playing and having that classic game with Texas State just to fall short. And that one kind of tugged on the heart there. And then Eastern Michigan, they had to claw to get here. They had a 2 OT game with Akron, was able to put it away late in that second OT and walk off. And then they played Buffalo on the road, handled business against Buffalo. Now, these two teams, the story's a little bit different with how they operate. US or South Alabama able to really run the football well, really has a good quarterback as well in Bradley, who has been safe with the ball, only 7 interceptions all year, and he's led a pretty dynamic offense. The defense, on the other hand, that's where it gets a little worrisome. Yes, they had 2 shutouts, but then they had games, like I said, to where they just got physically outmanned against Troy, against Lafayette, gave up 52 to Texas State, and not to mention, there are other games there. UCLA, I think it was earlier in the year, if I'm not mistaken, they played them close and just could not hang on. And then Eastern Michigan, the way they've been able to get it done is through the defense, a little bit of the passing, and relying a little bit more than most on the run game. The running back Evans has 12 touchdowns at this point in the year. Eastern Michigan's been pretty okay in bowl games. South Alabama finally coming back to the bowl scene here, so they're a little bit more what's going to happen. So, Chooch, or do you go with the unpredictabilityness of South Alabama, or do you go with the little bit more established, we know what we're getting in bowl season, Eastern Michigan?
I don't. So I've had the pleasure of watching Eastern Michigan a couple times this year, and I am not a fan of how the offense runs. I guess I would say it's kind of it looks kind of clunky, where it's weird. I don't even know how to. It's just weird. It operates weird. It confuses me sometimes, but I like South Alabama's ability to expand the field when they need to. So that's what wins me. Plus, they did beat Oklahoma State 33-7 this year. So
Oh, I forgot. Okay, I thought that was a.
yeah,
Oh, my
South
bad.
Alabama. So I'm going with South Alabama.
Yeah, I like that pick. I mean, South Alabama, I have more faith in than Eastern Michigan this year, just because, when you don't really have the most, uh, I guess you could say, prolific offense, and you got to rely on your defense to really, boost your offense. That can work, but against a team like South Alabama, I don't see that happening. Yeah, so give me the Jaguars. All right, next one here, and oh my goodness, a lot of faith in this Utah team in this upcoming bowl in Las Vegas against Northwestern. Utah is a 6.5 point favorite here, and for good reason. I mean, they have had moments this year to where they have played like the Utah we're so used to seeing, but then they've also had moments to where they dropped the ball hugely. They played Oregon, only put up 6 points against that Oregon team. They got trucked over and laughed at by Arizona 42-18. And then you got Northwestern over here. Sneaky, silent Northwestern. 7-5, won their last 3 games, almost beat Iowa. And with this new coach, Braun, they've been looking pretty good. Now, a lot of people kind of bypassing this Northwestern team. They're going, Utah's got it. Whittingham will have his guys ready. He always is good in bowl games. They usually play in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State and find a way to, well, if you watched, you know the story there. In Northwestern, usually not consistent in bowl productivity. They're usually here one year, then they take a few years off, then they come back, and then they miss a few more, and then they come back maybe for 2 years. So, really kind of a negative direction for that Northwestern team. Chooch, where are you going in this one? I know you've been a believer in Braun, but Whittingham in Utah is a load.
Yeah, but being more consistent all year with the guy that just kind of took over with what? How many weeks to spare?
I want to say around 6.
Yeah, and has a 7-5 team, a team that gelled um, quicker than most thought. I mean, since that, I guess that win against Minnesota, they were just kind of on it, and then the 3 straight wins there, the end of the season. I'm convinced this Northwestern team's playing probably the best football we've seen them play in a long time. So I'm going with Wildcats.
Yeah, every time I've doubted this Northwestern team, like last few weeks ago when they played Illinois on the road, I'm going, there's no way they beat Bielema at Illinois. They did. I went, there's no way they beat Luke Fickle in Camp Randall. They did. I mean, they've proven me wrong a lot here, and I think they're going to continue to not only prove me wrong, but prove everyone else who is picking against them, not really caring about this team mentality. And not to mention, I don't think Utah's all that in it this game. I think they're kind of mad. I think they're
Okay, so we lost Cole there for a second. Internet issues. So, with that being said, I don't know what to do or talk or fill you guys in on this. So, um, we're gonna try and make do here with some stuff. Um, hmm. Un momento, por favor.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. But as I was gonna say, I think Utah is not ready to come out. I think they're kind of almost like, man, we didn't make the Rose Bowl this year. we didn't, play up to what we could have, and they kind of mope. And I think Northwestern is kind of like a train right now. They're not going to be stopped. All right, next one here: Coastal Carolina and San Jose State. Coastal Carolina 7-5, San Jose State 7-5. Of course, this is the Easy Point Hawaii Bowl. Coastal's last two games have been less than ideal. They lost to Army 28-21. Not a lot of people gave Army much of a shot, and we're kind of surprised by that. And then, of course, you meet JMU, and that didn't go very well. Not to mention Grayson McCall finally hit the portal, left this team, so they got that working against them. Meanwhile, San Jose State, I don't know what got into this team, but they have been pretty good. I don't know if they fully bought in. I don't know if the coach promised them all like a raise or something if they went 8-5, but here they are, and they're not looking back anytime soon. So, Chooch, will it be the Spartans that pull this one out, or will it be Coastal Carolina getting the dub?
The one thing the Chanticleers are always going to be is deep at the quarterback position, and they're going to be ready, next man up mentality, like I said, with these Sunbelt guys. I think the offense is going to lack a little bit here to start off, but they'll figure it out. San Jose State's going to keep this close. This is going to be a really fun game, I believe, but I think the Chanticleers just edge this one out.
Man, I gotta go the opposite side of the field here. I have been just kind of whatever with the Spartans, and they just keep winning. So I'm on the train, man. I'm on the excited train, and I think Coastal Carolina's not gonna know what hit them in this bowl game. I'm not gonna say like it's a full blowout, but I do think it's like a multiple digit win for the Spartans. All right, next one here: Bowling Green versus 5-7 Minnesota. That's right, you heard it. 5-7 Minnesota. They somehow made a bowl at 5-7. Not too sure how that happened, but here we are nonetheless. And Minnesota, well, let's just say not the most, well, not a season you really want to hang on to. You kind of want to throw this season away. You want to get ready for next season, or maybe basketball or baseball's upcoming. You definitely don't want to look to this football team because of how it went. A lot of downs for this team. Last win came all the way back in October, last week of October, against Michigan State at home. As for Bowling Green, they played good. Out of their last five, they only lost to Toledo, and that was by 1 point. Huge. I think this is a pretty easy bowl game, but then I look at the odds here, and usually when something like this happens, it's one of two things. Minnesota's a 3.5 point favorite. So that either means people look at Bowling Green and they laugh and they go, they played nobody. Minnesota's had better strength of schedule. They'll win. Or somebody knows something that we don't. What do you think?
Yeah, it's this Bowling Green offense is actually quite fun to watch, and this defense is very they like to fly to the football. They flock to it, if lack of a better term here. Um, Meanwhile, I don't know what's going on in Minnesota here, but Bowling Green's going to win this one. It's going to be close, like the spread says, but Bowling Green.
Man, we should just change the title of the show to the Agreeing Show, because it seems like every other pick we're on the same side here. I'm gonna also go with Bowling Green just because I love the fight in this team, and I really I love PJ Fleck as a coach for Minnesota. I think he's in a really awful situation, and that's what we're seeing. He's doing the best he can. Um, but sadly, just this Minnesota team, if you can shut down the run, it's pretty much wraps. And I think Bowling Green's going to be able to force them to throw and take advantage of just every mistake that Minnesota makes. Expect a pick to be kind of the main thorn in the side there for Minnesota. All right, next one here. We got Texas State and Rice, and some really sad news if y'all didn't know. JT Daniels, the man who carried this Rice team to bowl eligibility, unfortunately had to give up playing football. And, you never like to see that. But know too that in this type of a game, whenever somebody goes out, has to quit for whatever reason, the team can rally, the wagons can turn, and this team could come out ready to play and shock people who don't think they have it. In most cases, I might agree, but they got a very tough test in Texas State, who has quite the offense. I mean, TJ Finley has found his stride with these guys. They've been hopping in a tremendous way, and the run game is not too bad either. Their lead rusher, 1,200 yards plus and 10 TDs. Chooch, it's going to be one heck of an order for this Rice team, but can they find it within themselves to win for JT Daniels? What do you think?
Well, we don't know what the quarterback situation is behind JT for this Rice team because he's been so reliable all year. Now, to Texas State, and you mentioned the run game. I'm going to pick on that point there. Ismail Mahdi is a sophomore.
Wow.
Yeah, I just figured I'd put that out there. He's a sophomore. JT Daniel, Finley, TJ Finley. Wow, is like a thousandth year senior, so he should throw for 3,200 yards. But Texas State is going to take care of business. Like you said, that offense is impressive and it can go quick. So Rice, hold on to your feathers because it's going to get rough.
Man, I feel bad doing this because I've been rocking with Rice for this whole year. I wanted to see them at this point. I wanted to see them win. But now that Daniels is out, I can't bring myself to do it. I'm sorry, Rice. I love you. But Texas State in this offense is too explosive, and not to mention, like Cheech was saying, we don't know what the offense is going to look like now. So I just think Texas State, all in all, is not going to have too much trouble in this game. Unfortunately, give me them. All right, next one here. We got a funner game than many people are going to give credit. 8-4 Kansas taking on the running Rebels of UNLV, who have been 9-4. Wait, Chooch, am I dreaming this? UNLV's 9-4?
Is this a basketball matchup?
Dude, that's what it seems like.
Like, is this what the bowl season has become? Just basketball matchups that we're just getting? Like, is that what this is?
This is ridiculous. 9-4. If you would have told me coming into this year UNLV would be 9-4, I would have laughed in your face because this does not feel real. But it is. So the Kansas Jayhawks, of course, being led by their backup quarterback, Jason Bean, who's been pretty good all year, stepping in after Jalen Daniels. 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's been pretty safe with the ball. They've also had a pretty solid run game. They've had multiple backs who have been impressive, but the most impressive has been Devin Neal, over 1,000 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns, averaging 6.6 yards a carry. Pretty good, if you ask me. And then UNLV, don't count these guys out yet because you got their quarterback, Jaden Mavia, who has been kind of the heart and soul of this UNLV team, if we're being honest. He's been gunslinging it, and his wide receiving core has been the main talking point with this offense. The run game's been decent, but nothing really that special. Chooch, it's kind of like you got the air team versus the run team. Who gets it done here?
I'm going to take Kansas because remember, this is their backup quarterback playing right now.
Right.
So, and like I said, not one, two backs, multiple backs. I think this game's a lot closer than anything here predicts. I think this is a 6-point game throughout. I think UNLV gets a lead, but they fumble in that middle 15 there, and I think Kansas takes advantage, and that is the gap the rest of the game. UNLV just can't close the door. Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Man, we need a counter to go back and see how many times you've said that on the show because it's
Rock
been said. Yeah,
It's so
Chiefs
fun to
fans.
say. Come on.
Oh, it is beautiful. But not me. No, I'm gonna run with the Rebels because this team has been fun. This team has been explosive. Honestly, at one point, I thought this team was winning the Mountain West because they've looked that good. I know, obviously some games came in that didn't allow that, but I think Kansas is just too one-dimensional right now with Bean at their head. I mean, he's an okay passer, but they're definitely going to try and run the football, and I think UNLV can zero in on that and really make an impact. And I like this UNLV wide receiving core. I just think they're too good for this Kansas defense, and that's going to be the change here. Reason why the Running Rebs take this one. All right, 6-6 Virginia Tech versus 11-2 Tulane. And I kind of feel bad for Virginia Tech. I mean, they've been fighting all year to get to this bowl game, and people were like, "Here's your reward. You get Tulane." Oh, that's not a great gift if you're Vatek. If anything, you're like, "Come on, man, you couldn't have given us, another 6-6 team. You fed us to the hungry shark. Thanks a lot, guys." But knowing this Vatek team, they're going to welcome the challenge and they're going to say, hey, we're going to play our best ball. We're going to come at you with everything. And don't be surprised if you can see a Vatek win here. Vegas is even favoring them by 7.5. Again, kind of a weird thing here. 7.5 favorite for the Hokies. They say they're going to run away with this one. Not a lot of respect for the Green Wave. Chooch, what do you have to say about that? I'm kind of stunned.
I mean, Virginia Tech has been playing good football recently. Better football, I should say. Better football than they have. They're starting to kind of look like the Hokies again. But the Green Wave, if it's anything like last year's bowl season, this is not going to. I mean, yeah, they beat USC close, but Virginia Tech's going to struggle to contain this Tulane offense. I mean, Tulane's looking to bust open after that disappointing loss to SMU a couple weeks ago. So, go Green Wave.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta go with you here. I love Vatek. I love, their fight, and it's so fun to see just a fighting Vatek team again. We haven't seen that in a while. So I think they're gonna fight. I think they're, this game, maybe I'm gonna say 8 minutes to go in the third. It's gonna be close, but just the Tulane talent difference is what is gonna catch up with Vatek, and I think Tulane just gets it done. This team's fun, and if you haven't watched them all year, definitely watch this game for both teams. I mean, they're both good, but Green Wave.
And if you're a box score watcher and you see, oh, but they lost big to Ole Miss, it really wasn't that score until like the last 5 minutes of the game. So say what you want, but that Tulane team's real good.
Box score watcher. That's a term I have not said in a while. I'm glad it's back
I got
because
you,
I
buddy.
can't stand it. All right. North Carolina and West Virginia. We go from Vatek to West Virginia. Again, ESPN. Love you guys. Keep it going. Um, West Virginia has been kind of the shock of the season. Not a lot of people expected them to be good this year. If anything, you looked in the preseason and there was a lot of fire Neil Browns. He's been awful. I'm sick of trusting the climb. This should be his last year. And then they pull out an 8-4 season and potentially 9-4 because North Carolina not necessarily spiraling in a positive direction. They lost their last two to Clemson and North Carolina. North Carolina, on the other hand, it was kind of like, hey, they could be, a playoff team. They could sneak into that 4 spot. They got Drake May returning. It's exciting, and it was looking that way. And then the Mac Brown special, and I hate to say that, but it's been pretty true. They lose one game, and then everything fell. And sadly, I mean, it's the same record, but two completely different ways about getting there. Chooch, I know, North Carolina's been close to your heart. Sadly, Drake May's not playing this game, so that, maybe sways that decision. And West Virginia did decide to give Neil Brown a extension here. West Virginia's a 6.5-point favorite. A lot of faith in the Mountaineers. What do you got?
Yeah, like you said, the Mac Brown special. It's called that for a reason, folks. They're going to choke away this bowl game. They're going to be up until midway through the second, and from there on out, they're going to falter. West Virginia is a really gritty team. I like the heart in this team. The Mountaineers are going to beat the Tar Heels here.
Man, leading up to this game, I was gonna go with North Car because I thought, okay, maybe Drake May plays this team, kind of circles around, goes, hey, it was a disappointing end of the year, but we're gonna play better. And then I heard Drake May's gone, and I was like, well, I know they probably got another good, quarterback who could come in, make some plays, but I really do like West Virginia, and I really like what Neil Brown's been able to accomplish. And if he can cap off the season going 9-4, that is going to really be a big thing for this Mountaineers team, and I want to see it. So give me West Virginia, WVU. All right, next one, and what a wild one it is. The Louisville Cardinals ACC runner-ups to the eventual champs, the Florida State Seminoles, which we'll get into them a little bit later on in the show. Louisville 10-3, and honestly, if you had asked most people, they saying, hey, Jeff Brom's coming in. What's the expectation year one? You might have heard, 7-5, 6-6, maybe even 5-7, just missing out on a bowl game. And then you fast forward to this, and they're 10-3. In not even, we're not even a full year in, and it's 10-3 for a team who was nowhere close a year ago to this level. That should speak volumes about how great of a coach Jeff Brom is. But then you got the flip side with Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, this offense, and I mean, I would say defense, but they really they don't have a defense. Yeah, it's kind of sad. They might have been something if they had one, but they're 7-5. Lincoln Riley's first bowl game last year, I should say, did not go very well against Tulane. He ended up losing that one. Meanwhile, Louisville a year ago's bowl game against Cincinnati was pretty much the turnover bowl, and we're looking to see maybe a complete flip with both of these teams. USC might be, just good enough to take this one home, or Louisville might just dominate. And according to Vegas, Louisville's a 7.5-point favorite. Not a lot of love for the Trojans. Chooch, I know you believed in this Louisville team when not a lot did, and they beat Notre Dame that time. But is this the time for the Trojans to send a message for next year?
So, funny story. We're just going to lick the stamp and send it here. The Cardinals are going to win this one because I have zero faith in USC's defense. I think they're still ways away from being able to stop an air attack like this. So give me the Cardinals.
Okay, this is gonna be really weird. I like Louisville, love Jeff Brom, think he's a phenomenal coach, but something in me is saying USC is gonna win this game, and I don't know what it is, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I just got a feeling, and sometimes that's all it takes. So for whatever reason, I'm gonna go with USC and Lincoln Riley to somehow figure this out and show some hope for next year. Like I said, there's no logic behind this pick. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why I feel this way, but I just do. So fight on. All right, next one here. We got a Big 12 matchup with Texas. Oh, that's right. Texas A&M left, and now they're in the SEC. It still feels weird, folks. Let's just get that out of here. I don't like the expanding newness and craziness of college football. Can we just go back to when it made sense? Thank you. Texas A&M and Oklahoma State in a Big 12 rematch from the times that they were. It's nice to see this game back again, some life behind it, but things have gotten a little bit different. Obviously, Jimbo Fisher, not the head man in charge anymore. Bobby Petrino took off to Arkansas to be the OC. Mike Elko comes in. Max Johnson goes. Jake Johnson goes. There's been rumors about the top wide receiver, Anaya Smith, hitting the portal. Nothing has been confirmed about that yet. So it kind of looks like a crazy Rubik's Cube for this Texas A&M team. Meanwhile, they play Oklahoma State, which kind of seems a lot more intact at the moment. Not rumors about people hitting the portal. Mike Gundy's still the coach. But with all that being said, Texas A&M's still a 2.5 point favorite. Not a lot of respect to this Oklahoma State team and what Mike Gundy's done. Chooch, this has got to be the second weirdest bowl game here. Who do you say gets this one?
Um, I think Oklahoma State does because I honestly, like you said, this one's weird, but I have just a little bit more in that running game. I think Texas A&M is going to struggle with that early, and Oklahoma State's just going to carry the mail with them and win this one.
I don't like this game, man. I don't like. If we could skip a game for the sake of the record, this would be that, because like quite literally anything could happen. But I'm gonna go with Texas A&M. Just I really don't have a good reason. I'm just gonna be honest. I have no um rhyme or reason to pick this, but I just think something in it that Oklahoma State is not at the level that they should be. Um, and for some reason, with Gundy, they're so unpredictable. They either are really good and they win, or they're absolutely awful. And I just see Texas A&M coming up and winning. Not to mention, their last game was pretty good against LSU. If you remember that, they had a interim coach. They put up 30. They had a 2 possession lead at one point, and ultimately just could not get it done against the Tigers. So I think they carry that momentum. All right, next one here, SMU and BC. SMU pretty destructive this year. Another team that again has not gotten a whole lot of respect like Tulane, but they just keep winning. And they don't really care what anybody thinks. They even beat Tulane to end up winning their conference. Boston College, on the other hand, congrats to you guys. You actually made a bowl, but many people are just saying, yeah, they're here. They're not really going to win. This game shouldn't be close. SMU should dominate. But huge, weird things happen when BC's in bowl games. Is this one of the shocking, weird things to where BC actually ends up winning? What do you say?
I don't think so. I listen. This SMU offense is top notch, top tier. Um, Too explosive. Boston College isn't going to know what to do with this offense. So I think this game's way more than 10. SMU comes in and they do their thing.
Oh, flip a coin. I mean, just because of the random factor about, you know, is it gonna be this team who comes out and shocks like VC is known for, or will it be, SMU's time to continue? I just think SMU's at such a bigger point and a better point than BC. I'm probably gonna regret this pick because BC, like I said, they got a weird thing going. I don't know, what they do to have chances in games that they shouldn't, but they just do. But I'm gonna go SMU here. All right, next one we got a Big Ten versus ACC matchup. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights take on the Miami Hurricanes. Miami 7-5. Tyler Van Dyke said adios though, and he hit the portal and he is going to Wisconsin. So the question for this game comes, how will this offense operate without Tyler Van Dyke? Will they be ready for Rutgers? And then for Rutgers, it goes, they've been playing good football, but they've just never really been that good. Could this be a time where they get an uncharacteristic win against a pretty okay Miami team? What do you say, Chooch?
Yeah, honestly, I like the Rutgers. I think it's against a team like Miami. This is going to be a really fun game to watch Rutgers offense and defense kind of hit their stride and flow. And I think that's going to be the difference here. Van Dyke being gone is going to hurt Miami a lot more than people think. So Rutgers gets a bowl win here in the bad boy mowers pinstripe bowl. Wow.
Um, I'm gonna go with Miami here just because I think Miami has a better tendency in these type of games, and I really like the run game. Tyler Van Dyke, he was amazing in the air. You take that away, I don't know if Rutgers has what it takes to even stop a predictable run Miami team, and that's kind of what I'm banking on here. So give me the Hurricanes, but it will be a closer game. All right, next one, NC State and Kansas State. NC State has been kind of a shock. Another team that we expected, they might, win a few games, they might be okay. They're 9-3. They're fighting for a 10-win season in the ACC, which has been kind of a weird ACC if we're being nice. Kansas State, on the other hand, 8-4 and losing Will Howard for this game. He ended up popping in the portal again, another huge QB joining that list. So the main question, which continues to be asked here, what will Kansas State do in a moment? Again, no known quarterback. Will the run game, will the defense be able to rally, give time for this new quarterback, or will it be too much and NC State walks out of here with a win? Kansas State is a 3-point favorite. You get first crack, dude.
NC State's going to walk out of here. Listen, that defense and in North Carolina State is fantastic. It's a typical North Carolina State defense. That front line just wants to eat everything that comes near it. The quarterback is a chew toy, and I don't think Kansas State's offense is going to be functioning very well. It's going to be very one dimensional. So, NC State.
I think Kansas State, is going to be coached up and they're going to try things, send people in motion to try and fool this defense. But NC State's defense is going to be good enough, disciplined enough to make plays and to not be fooled. And like Cheech was saying, this NC State team, they've been playing really good ball. And I think they have quite the showing of how the season goes by getting a very good win over a good Kansas State team. Um, Close, but they end up walking out with a win. Next one here, and what I love to call the hottest team in college football, the Arizona Wildcats, taking on the 10-2 Oklahoma Sooners. And let's just say things are getting kind of weird for Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel hits the transfer portal. The O line, a lot of members hitting the portal. This defense, I think it was their big edge rusher hitting the portal, if I'm not mistaken. I think a safety also hit the portal. Um, there's been a lot of portal, if you couldn't tell, that has a massive impact in this game. Meanwhile, Arizona, for the most part, they've been able to keep it together. Not a whole lot of people hitting the portal. They like what's going on in Arizona, but Chooch, you know as well as I do. Like, look at a year ago. Everybody was nervous. They're saying, oh, Oklahoma, what are they going to do in the bowl game? They come up and they destroy Oregon. Are we going to see that again, or is this Arizona team for real? What do you think?
So these are man, because I really want to pull for that Brent Venables defense, right?
Right.
But the other part of me is like, you can't really pick against Arizona because when I have, they've won. So I'm taking the Wildcats here. I got more faith in Arizona. Gabriel's gone. I don't doubt Oklahoma's offense, but the defense is going to keep this one close. Arizona's offense, though, humming. So this one could be fun. Whether you're a defensive fan or a fan of offense, you can get both. For all we know.
Good pick. Arizona wins this football game. Like I said, this team is they're fun to watch. They're scary. Take nothing away from Oklahoma. They're gonna fight too in this game, but Arizona, they've just been on a weird level. Like, it's weird to say Arizona's been dominating in football, but they have. And I just think Arizona, like, you could put quite a few teams in front of them here, and they're not going to touch this Arizona team. And sadly, I think Oklahoma's just another name on the resume here for that Arizona team. All right, next one here, we got an ACC versus SEC matchup. The Clemson Tigers taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. And, well, to be nice, again, no, these two teams' seasons have not gone how they wanted. Clemson, of course, wanted to be back in that playoff hunt. Kentucky wanted to shock the East, win the East from Georgia. That plan that didn't go very well, but they did end their season off on a good note, beating the in-state rival Louisville on the road 38-31. Clemson, on the other hand, they've been hot as of late. Dabo must have been pissed off, must have got this team playing right, because they beat Notre Dame, they took it out on Georgia Tech, they beat North Carolina, and then they had a just typical Palmetto State battle with South Carolina on the road. They were able to pull it out by 9. Huge. One team looks pretty on fire. The other team looks, you got an upset win, but we don't really know what to expect going forward. Who gets this win?
Kentucky. I think they're coming in with a kind of a new lease on life for this game. End the season right. Get back at it next year. Let's make the most of this game. Let's kind of really get Clemson second guessing things. So I'm going to take Kentucky.
All right. Well, I like that because, Kentucky, they had a lot of scare during the offseason. Is Mark Stoops going to stay? Is he going to take the A&M job? There was a false reporting that said he did take the A&M job. And Kentucky fans, I mean, they're kind of like, oh man, he's gone. That sucks, But then the thing's false, and now Kentucky's excited. I mean, they're like, okay, we still got him. He can, try and rally the guys. But I just think Dabo and Clemson is clicking on a different level right now than Kentucky can reach. I think this is going to be a very close game, but Dabo and Clemson is too conditioned and too just just hot right now to lose this game. So give me Clemson. All right, next one here we got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish versus the Oregon State Beavers in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Oh, we got some of the stuff to unpack here. DJ Ugandale from Oregon State hitting the portal saying, I've had enough here. And Oregon State, not necessarily the ideal way you want to end off the season, losing to Washington by 2 and then getting handed by your older brother Oregon on the road 31-7. Notre Dame hasn't had it much better. I mean, I know they've won 4 out of their last 5, but their only real tough game on that schedule out of the last 5 was Clemson, and they ended up losing that one in Death Valley. So this game is a real go up and get it game. I know Chris Tyree hit the portal for Notre Dame, big time wide receiver. You still got Sam Hartman, you still got Estime who's there. In Oregon State, losing their coach to Michigan State definitely does not help the situation. But Chooch, we have seen Notre Dame win these type of games, and we've also seen them blow these type of games. Ultimately, Notre Dame's a 6.5 pointer. Where are you looking?
Listen, this is the same Notre Dame team that last year surprised us when they won their bowl game. So without Sam Hartman, just the same team. I'm taking the Fighting Irish here. I think Oregon State's going to struggle against a really good Fighting Irish defense.
Man, as much as I don't want to say it, Notre Dame does win this game because I do like Oregon State, but yeah, Notre Dame, I think they're too physical up front. Andre Estime's a really good back. And like you said, that defense, when they're on, they're on. And they've been pretty good throughout the whole year. So I think that story continues, and they get Freeman a 10-win season. Go victory for Our Lady, as they say. All right, next one here we got Memphis and Iowa State. Memphis 9-3. They've been kind of looking like the Memphis of old. They've been winning games and looking pretty good in fashion. Last loss, of course, came 4 points to a pretty good SMU team. As for Iowa State, Matt Campbell's job was on the line for, I'd say, majority of this season, and they have been able to rally around him and answer the call when need be, and get some wins for him in a pretty good season. Iowa State's a 7.5 point favorite in this game, and the meanings are huge, especially for this game. If Iowa State's able to go 8-5, I think maybe even an extension is on the line for Matt Campbell. Chooch, does he get to that 8-5 season, or will it be Memphis that gets a 10-win season?
Memphis is getting a 10-win season, and I'm going to tell you why. This offense is fun. Hennigan is the man. And Watson and Taylor, run back, receiver, 2 guys, reliable. And also, Hennigan takes care of the ball. And this defense, typical Memphis defense, they play real good football, discipline. They're going to make you think. So, Memphis.
No, sir. I'm going. This is finally one where we look different. I'm gonna go with Iowa State because I love the job that Campbell's done down there. With such limited resources, he is definitely a really good coach that gets held back, kind of like PJ Fleck, because of where they are and how tough it is there. And I think these players love him, and I think this team's passion is going to be unmatchable to this Memphis team. They're going to play good, but ultimately Iowa State just a little bit more in this one. All right, next one here we got an SEC and Big Ten matchup. The Missouri Tigers 10-2, and what a turnaround by Eli Drankowitz with this team. When he first got to Missouri, they were okay, nothing special, and now look at them. They're 10-2. The world is their oyster. But now they go up against a pretty good Ohio State team. Ryan Day, of course, the head coach there. Kyle McCord has hit the transfer portal. Fleming, a top wide receiver, has hit the portal. Quite a few defensive players for this Ohio State team hitting the portal as well. Marvin Harrison might not be playing. I mean, there's not been a confirmed report at this time as to whether he is or is not. Um, so we'll have to see about that. Missouri, they've shocked people. I mean, their only two losses coming against LSU at home and Georgia on the road, and they played Georgia tooth and nail, just had a few plays that didn't go right. But then they had a scare recently against Florida. They were able to barely pull that one through at home with a massive kick. And then, speaking of kicking, well, they absolutely kicked the crap out of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Not much, positive to say about that win, but they dominated that game. Ohio State, on the other hand, story's pretty typical for them out of the last few years. Win your whole season and then lose to Michigan. So, I mean, that's kind of been the Ohio State way for a little bit. And Eli Drankowitz even made a jab at Ohio State saying, hold on, Connor Stallings is calling me about this game, giving me some tips before leaving in an ESPN interview. This game's going to be physical. It's going to be not for the faint of heart. And these are two teams who are desperately needing this win. I'd say Missouri a little bit more than Ohio State, but Ohio State would love a win like this to solidify their position, give some excitement for next year. What do you say, Chooch?
So one part of me wants to go, well, Ohio State still got that really good defense, and who knows, the backup could be better than McCord. And the other part of me goes, well, it's Mizzou. Drinkwitz has these guys moving. They're playing really good football. They're not afraid to get physical either. So why not take them? Yeah, I'm going with Mizzou here. I just got a feeling. I think this game's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Real close, real physical. Like we said, something says Mizzou here. I don't know why.
All right. I'm going to go with you too. I think Missouri is a more well put together team, and I think Eli Drankowitz is a better coach than Ryan Day, and I don't think it's really close. What Eli has done at Missouri is absolutely incredible. I mean, bringing home a 5-star in a recruiting class at Missouri in this climate, I mean, shit, he's got my vote. So Missouri wins this one here, and I just think they outplay them, and they have been playing with quite the attitude too. If you watch that Arkansas game, which me and Chooch did, we got to see a decent part of that game. They dominated and they let you know. So I think we continue to see that with Missouri, and they add a lot of momentum going forward. All right, next one here, and Oh boy. That's what I gotta say about this one. Oh boy. You got the train with Lane Kiffin,
Choo
and you got
choo.
the coach that always chokes in big games with Penn State. And you also got Lane Kiffin, who usually loses in bowl games for whatever reason. Never really made sense. He usually has got the better team. So this game is really a coin flip. Are we going to see Lane Kiffin kind of lose it, not know how to play in this bowl game again? Or are we going to see James Franklin choke more and lose another big game? That's really the storyline heading into this one. Of course, if you need a refresher on the stars, here we go. Obviously, you got Jackson Dart for Ole Miss, the leading quarterback, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and he's been pretty good on his feet as well. As for Drew Aller, pretty good, no complaints. 20, 23 touchdowns, 1 interception, over 2,000 passing yards. And of course, the typical Penn State defense, that's pretty good. And the rushing attack, also pretty good for this Penn State team, led by Kytron Allen. And then as for Ole Miss, they also got, just a running back here. I don't know if any of you have ever, heard of him. His name's Quidshawn Judkins. And they also got some other backs who have taken the load from Jackson Dart. This game, two even teams, two coaches who have stuff to prove. Shooch, who gets the nod and sheds their label this year?
I'm going to go Ole Miss. I think Penn State's defense is going to struggle to contain this offense. I think Ole Miss's defense is better than we give them credit for. Yeah, it's non-existent at times, but I mean, Penn State only can really throw the football well. The run game looks a little clunky at times. So, taking the ribs.
Oh man, I want to pick Ole Miss. I really do because I have been the most critical on James Franklin all year about how he can't win a big game. Uh, but I have more faith in Penn State here because I don't know what it is about Ole Miss, but they just can't win bowl games. It's the weirdest thing ever. I've never seen a coach worse than Lane Kiffin at bowl games. So for that reason, unfortunately, I say that because picking Big Ten against the SEC here, but I'm gonna go with the Nittany Lions, and I think they figure out a way to win this game over the Rebs. All right, next one here we got Auburn, the Barn, taking on Maryland here at the Music City Bowl. Auburn 6-6, kind of what we expected out of Hugh Freeze's first year, and it could have even been better if they, learned how to play defense on a 4th and goal from the 31, but we'll talk about that at a different time. Maryland, on the other hand, 7-5. They've had some really moments that have shown this team's growth, like playing Michigan close and gutting out the Nebraska game, winning that by 3. But then you had some moments of question marks, like for instance, losing to Northwestern, getting killed by Penn State. I mean, this team is kind of the wacky wheelhouse, if you will, of the Big Ten. They could do anything, and most people would be like, "Yeah, that makes sense." And some bad news also for Auburn. Richie Ashford just hit the transfer portal, so it will be Peyton Throne being the lead man in charge, which he has been for majority of the year, but they have kind of ran a 2 quarterback thing that had some promise. Now you get the guarantee of Peyton Throne. So that might have some major effects on this offense. The running stable for the barn, though, pretty deep, and most people still say Auburn's got this one. According to ESPN Bet, Auburn is a 2.5 point favorite. What do you say, Chooch?
I'm going to take Auburn here. I just like what's come of their season with what they've had, and Hugh Freeze's first year is nothing short of impressive. We all knew he was a good coach, but he's kind of making his point known that, like, hey, the SEC is now officially up for grabs. Let the power struggle begin. So Maryland's going to struggle here with. I think Maryland's front line is going to struggle with this Auburn defense, and Auburn's offense is going to get a little creative here. So, I mean, Hugh's had time to implement something for this. So, yeah, Auburn's going to handily win this one, I believe.
I agree with you. Auburn here, they win the game. I just Maryland's too unpredictable for me, and I think Auburn. Of course, I like Juge was saying, I love what Hugh Freeze has done with this program. I like, I know some people again didn't really like, a lot, especially getting blown out by LSU, and then of course recently with that last play, well, not last play, but last really big shot for Alabama, and to give that up, that a lot of people were pissed about that. But I think Auburn, comes out here, they come out swinging, and I don't think this is much of a game. Moving on to the next one, and oh no, we're gonna have some unhappy people, and justified unhappy people with this next game. And there's been rumors to even boycott this whole bowl together, both saying both teams should. Florida State got robbed. Well, according to now, we're having that bowl game. So here we are. Georgia versus Florida State. Georgia, of course. I mean, what is there to say? They're Georgia. They looked incredible all year. I mean, they had some moments of being slow offensively, but they just kept finding ways to win up till the SEC title game where they lost to Alabama. Some questionable calls kind of helped that one too, but a win is a win is a win. And then Florida State, on the other hand, 13-0. They went perfect. They beat Louisville 16-6. That defense only allowed 6 points to Louisville, and somehow not good enough to make the Final Four. At this point, what did they have to do? I know Jordan Travis going down hurts the case, but there was a whole rant done, so I'm going to stop with that rant. At the end of the day, according again to ESPN Vet here, Georgia is a 14-point favorite. Nobody respects Florida State. Keon Coleman has already declared for the draft. He says, I'm not playing in this bowl game. And I think this is one of the few times in history where people have actually pulled with a player saying, I'm not playing that bowl game. So are they going to see a Florida State team upset and wanting to prove a message, or we are going to see a depleted Florida State team that is not going to have a whole lot to do here, and Georgia is going to run roughshod? What do you think, Juge?
I think this Florida State defense is going to be upset. I think they're going to play real good. Real good football. They're going to be real pissed off, and Georgia's going to have to be on top of their game to win this one. On the offense, at least, I think defensively they can afford to be a little lackluster, but Georgia wins because I question Florida State's offensive ability to consistently put out positive yardage plays against a defense and a team as complete as Georgia's. So I believe in the Florida State defense. I question the offense a bit, but we'll see. This can be a lot closer than people think it is.
Oh, well, I want to agree with you, but I can't go with Georgia in this game. I got to go with Florida State because, you know, picking the game, I do think Georgia has a better shot with that offense and being, not as predictable. But man, screw the committee. Give me the Knowles to win this game. Send a message to this committee, and they're going to be on fire. Plus, I love Mike Norvell, and my heart goes out to you, Florida State fans. I mean, that's tough. even if you did beat us, week 1, but hey, whatever, right? Go Knowles. All right, next one here, we got Toledo and Wyoming. Toledo 11-2, but much like every other game, Dequan Finn hits the transfer portal, their quarterback, so already a little bit behind the 8 ball, and that doesn't bode well going against this Wyoming team. On top of that, they lost their conference championship game to Miami of Ohio. They tried to fight back at the end, just didn't have enough. And as for Wyoming, they're a better team than most give credit for. They've been playing hot, but will it be enough to beat this Toledo team? What do you say, Chooch?
Yeah, I think with Finn not being there, that hurts this Toledo's offensive potency. That being said, Wyoming is just going to come out. I think they're going to manage this game towards the end there to win this one. So I think Toledo finds its stride, but they won't be able to finish it out. Wyoming.
Good pick. Wyoming wins this game. And the reason why, I mean, obviously, Finn going, but that's not, I picked this while Finn was there. I like personally Andrew Piersley at the quarterback position for Wyoming. He's just a gamer, man. He goes in there and he gets it done. And I also like this Wyoming defense. Their last 2 games, they gave up 9 points and 6 points. I mean, granted, not against the greatest teams, but still, that's pretty good for 60 minutes. All right, now on to a game with a little bit more storied history than many would say. Wisconsin taking on LSU in the Real Quest Bowl. And if you remember what happened last time these two teams met, that's what I meant to say. It was in Lambeau. Let's backtrack to 2016. LSU had Les Miles at the helm in this game, and how it went was the Wisconsin team shut down that predictable offense, played really good defense and special teams, and had a 14-0 lead late in the game. But then the LSU talent took over, and they tied it up. And everybody was excited, jumping around, thinking LSU had saved, an embarrassing loss. But then Wisconsin picked off Brandon Harris on a throw, and Wisconsin was able to run the ball out and beat an upset and stun the LSU Tigers. The 2 times before that, LSU ended up beating Wisconsin, and they were both very close games. These two are a little bit more intertwined than anybody will give credit. Now, Malik Neighbors has said and been kind of up in the air as to if he's playing or not. There's some people out there saying he is playing, others say he's not. We'll have to see about that. Jaden Daniels, same deal. Some are saying he is playing, others saying he's not. A lot of question marks with this LSU team. As for Wisconsin, Luke Fickell needs an explanation mark at the end of this season to go, hey guys, obviously it's kind of not where we wanted to be this year, but if we can beat LSU, that gives you something for next year. Chooch, it doesn't really look possible, especially if Jaden and Malik Neighbors are playing. However, Sage Ryan hit the portal, Jackson McGohan hit the portal, Bryce Langston, Quincy Wiggins. There's been quite a few names for that LSU team that hit the portal. Will this be enough for a Wisconsin upset, a shocker that not a lot see, or will it be the Tigers that take this one?
No, because even coming into this one, Wisconsin's hurt. Wisconsin's, hurting big time. And even if we don't have Jaden and Malik, I'm still confident in what we got there to pull us through. Brian Kelly's a good coach. hell of a coach. Fickle's the same way. At the end of the day, I think just the offensive talent at LSU wins this one. Go Tigers!
I love it ending off the Coach O signature. Um, oh man, I'm a little bit nervous about this game. I was more nervous a year ago with the Purdue game, and we smoked Purdue. I really don't know what to expect. Anything could happen in this game, and I really wouldn't be all that surprised. So I'm gonna go with LSU here, just kind of hoping we get it together and maybe the defense makes some plays. I mean, that part's the most unrealistic of all, because our defense kind of sucks if you didn't know. But I think the offense should be, hopefully enough to win this game. Again, a lot of respect for Luke Fickle, a lot of respect for what he's been doing over there, but I think LSU should have this one. All right, next one here we got Liberty and Oregon. Liberty undefeated and finally ranked. It took them quite a while to get a number next to their name. They're number 23, taking on the number 8 Oregon, which lost 2 times, and that is to Washington, of course. Now, these two teams, I mean, if Liberty wins, this would be monumental for Liberty. But if Oregon is able to win this game, it's going to stomp out Liberty. There's going to be a lot of hesitance to ever rank them again. So Liberty kind of has everything to lose in this game, and Oregon, it's kind of like whatever. It's, we're going to be there, we're going to play. It's the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, cool, but the pressure is definitely felt more so with the Liberty Flames. Chooch, will it be Liberty time to get this win and to introduce themselves, or I guess reintroduce themselves to the state and go, hey, we should be here. We should be a ranked team, or will it be Oregon, even, not at per se their best, winning this one with Dan Lanning? What do you think?
I think this one's closer than people think it's going to be. Oregon's going to come out slinging, but Liberty's defense might be flying around. My question is, though, how does the secondary respond to this very strong air attack of Oregon? Also, the run game has been able to find its way to balance out this passing offense. Yeah, Bo Nix has 4,100 yards, but he also has 2,000-yard receivers, I believe. So, and the 1,000-yard rusher there. So, Oregon's pretty good. Oregon wins this one.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the disrespect. I'm going with Liberty. Let's go, Flames. We need this. All right. They deserve next year to be in the top 25. And this win is going to solidify that. Give me the Flames. Shock the world, boys. This is your time. Upset alert. Come on. Now watch as they lose by 50. Moving on to the next one here, we got another Big Ten versus SEC matchup. I don't know why, but they love to match these two conferences together, almost like they're trying a hidden meaning behind these matchups, trying to maybe spark some controversy on Twitter and stuff like that. The Iowa Hawkeyes, who have no offense. I mean, if you've watched any of their games, it's not really that much of a surprise, but they have a tremendous defense. Versus the Tennessee Volunteers, which in general don't really have any consistency. 1 minute they're pretty good, the next minute they're getting destroyed, the next minute they're having a good game against Kentucky, the next minute they're getting absolutely handed by Missouri, next game they're getting routed at home to Georgia, the next game they're pounding on Vanderbilt. We really don't know, what Tennessee team shows up pretty much ever. So it's going to be kind of wild in this game. Will it be the dominating Tennessee, Or will it be the kind of whatever, we're going to get killed, we know it, this Iowa defense has got us on lock? Chooch, it's weird. Which side do you prefer?
I think the amount of time Iowa's defense is going to spend on the field is going to hurt them drastically in this one. Tennessee's offense is going to have time to figure it out because of how much Iowa's defense is going to be on the field. So Tennessee, but this is going to be a really close game. Tennessee edges this one out against Iowa.
Listen, I like Iowa and all. I love their defense. But like Chooch is saying, when you leave a defense out to die, it doesn't matter how good that defense is, eventually it's gonna crack. And not to mention, I mean, Tennessee just has a cooler song anyways. I mean, who doesn't love Rocky Top? I mean, come on. Um, but on a serious note, yeah, Tennessee wins this one. It's going to be close, but I think the SEC talent is enough to get over, that really good Iowa defense, and Iowa not being able to move the ball in a game like this, that hurts a lot. So yeah, good old Rocky Top, woo, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Yeah.
All right, and then so the way this is going to work, because we're going to come back to these next two games here, but we're going to talk about them now as well. We're going to give you kind of like a rough draft of what we think the Final Four is going to be, and then these are subject to change basically. So if we pick one or the other here, and we pick the other team on the next show, don't be surprised. This is purely speculation at this point, and then we'll lock in our actual responses on the next one. So we're going to start with the first of the Final Four, the Crimson Tide of Alabama, a team that should not be here, if we're being honest. But again, I'll leave that for the rant. Takes on the number one team in football, the Michigan Wolverines, undefeated, and they looked pretty good while doing it. They beat their biggest rival, and then, last week they took the Big Ten championship away from Iowa, won 26-0. Alabama, on the other hand, they survived on a miracle, beating Auburn in the back with Isaiah Bond making one heck of a catch. And then they played Georgia and ended up taking the SEC title, winning by 3. Jalen Milroe really seems to be finding his stride with this Alabama offense. Jace McClellan's been playing pretty good, and Jermaine Burton is looking like the old Jermaine Burton back at Georgia. However, this Michigan team, they haven't been faltered. Their defense has been playing pretty well all year, and J.J. McCarthy somewhat seems to be coming out of that shell that he was in. Now, Blake Corum, on the other hand, he's just always been a dog, and Donovan Edwards and that whole running back stable has really been helping. Now, the question of this game is which trench is going to be able to win this game. Will it be the Tide of Alabama in the SEC strength, keeping that SEC name above ground? Or will it be Michigan dethroning Alabama in the SEC and really saying another conference has it this year? Chooch, you get the first on this.
Oh man. So this, like Cole said, this is subject to change, but right now I'm just more convinced Alabama's physically and Nick Saban, okay, we're physically ready. They're a more physical team, I think. Yeah, Michigan plays with a chip on their shoulder, but like you're now going against a team that's been told all year that they're going to be lucky if they win 8 games. So, and they're 12-1. Nick Saban's here, and last time he was here with a team like this, they went on and did things with stuff and people, with wins and trophies. So, taking the Crimson Tide, I think Michigan shows up this year, unlike last year. So, that Bama wins.
Oh man, like you just saying, this is tough. This is one of those games that um it could go either way. But man, it's so tough to pick against Alabama in this spot, but I'm going to. I'm going to go with Michigan in hopes that JJ McCarthy has it together enough and a Harbaugh learned from the last time he played Alabama, which was back in 2019. Um, and this team is, all that they can be because they've looked good all year. I mean, it's hard to say they haven't, but it's going to be one heck of a mountain to climb to beat Alabama. Not to mention the refs; they do a little home cooking. I'm just, you can be mad at that, but it's very true. Um, so yeah, give me Michigan here to overcome Alabama. All right, next one and last game, the one that many more people are pretty shocked about in this game. Texas and Washington. Now, there hasn't been a lot of respect thrown around for this Washington team. They say, that's a result of a weak Pac 12. They're not very good. They barely beat teams that, you know, they should have beaten by a lot more, like the Arizona State game. But then you also got to picture too, they beat Oregon twice, and Oregon, that's their only losses. And they're a pretty good team too. But then you also have Oregon State to where they only beat them by two. So it's kind of like it doesn't matter who they play, they find ways to win. But will that be good enough to beat this Texas team who has been rather dominant in a lot of their games? Remember, this is the Texas team who went into Tuscaloosa and manhandled Alabama. I mean, I know technically it was a 10-point win, but if you watch the game, it was a different story. Quinn Ewers has been locked and loaded. This Texas team has been here and they have been showing. I mean, this wide receiving core has been pretty good. Sark seems to have them in the right manner. This defense has been flying to the ball. They look pretty unstoppable at the moment. But Chooch, it's a battle of two top teams, and this the game we've all pretty much been waiting for here. So who do you give the edge to?
I've been the one to back up Washington all year and say, I mean, and I've also been on Penix Jr.'s bus for about a year, and I think this kid's the only reason why they're 12-0. I mean 13-0. Every time they needed a clutch throw, what happens? He
They
just sails. He just sails it up there, and it just hits the receiver in stride as he just runs to the end zone. He finds Odunze,
I think that's how you pronounce it. Don't ask me though.
but but I'd be insane not to go with Quinn Ewers, Brooks, and Worthy in this one. I'm going to Longhorns. Hook 'em horns. All right, all right, all right.
I love the McConaughey at the end, yes. Oh man. All right. Well, this is one of those games that could genuinely go either way, and another one to where I don't think anybody would be shocked because it's just been in both these teams' formulas to win games like these. So how do you pick it? I mean, I don't know. But I'm gonna say this. I like Washington. They've had a really good year. They've done a lot of good things. They've beaten, who's been in front of them. But at the end of the day, hook 'em, maybe. Texas wins this one. They're in full form. They're on fire, and Sark's got these boys playing the best football that they have played probably since the Mac Brown days. So yeah, hook 'em. All right, and that is gonna do it for our show. And man, it it always happens. It goes so quick. I mean, man, we're already at the bowl season. Pretty soon we'll be at the last show. We got two more of these, and then in terms of the off season, we got some content coming for that. So stay tuned for that. Um, Really do appreciate all you guys hanging with us. It's been such an honor to do this. So let's end as we always do. God bless you all in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Amen. And we will see you for the Final Four, and of course, the NFL show coming up next week. Stay safe. God bless, and have a Merry Christmas.